Open mic AI tips and hacks for startups. Today we are talking about AI and how AI can help accelerate your growth, how it can help you launch your startup, how it can make it in the world that you live in as a founder. AI is incredible. My co-host just joined me, Rachel Van Tilborg, and she and Mimi as well. Mimi, the editor of Startup Club, she just joined as well. Today, again, we're talking about AI tips and hacks for startups. And we're talking all about what it takes to become successful as a startup founder using AI as a hack. We're going to give it a minute or two before the room fills up. You don't know this, but if you're listening to a podcast or even YouTube for the first time, that this is a live show. We do this every single week, Friday at 2 o'clock Eastern. There might be the odd time that for holidays and whatnot that we cancel, but for the most part, it's a live show. You can join the show. Think of it like a live radio show for startups. And we've been running now this show for over 180 episodes. I think we're about 180. This might be the 182 episode. And we continue to grow and expand. The club has almost 1 million members. The newsletter just came out today. Did you get a copy of the newsletter, Michelle? Just curious. I know Mimi, you worked hard on this. You worked hard this week on it. I know.
You know what? That's a great question. I'm going to look right now.
Oh, so you haven't looked at it? Ooh, she hasn't looked at it. She has not looked at it yet. But I know Mimi, you and the team got there. Okay, so you and the team worked pretty hard on it, and I have to say, it keeps getting better and better. And this is not your average newsletter. This is not a newsletter that you would normally see. Hold on, I'm just filming here as well. This is not a newsletter that you would normally see in a cheesy newsletter. This is a comprehensive guide. This is a periodical. This is something that we produce once a month, and the entire team puts everything we got into it. We use the content from the speakers that we've had on, and we've had on hundreds of speakers. We use the content from the book Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat. And what we put together is really a very powerful guide to help you as a startup, as a founder, to help you become successful. See, this show, Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat, Serial Entrepreneur Secrets Revealed, is all about cracking the code. What is it that we do over and over again as serial entrepreneurs to succeed? And if we can crack that code and share that code with you, you can become successful. You can become wealthy. You can start, scale, exit, take some money off the table, and repeat. You can do those things. So that's what we're talking about today on the show. All right, Michelle, what do you think about this open mic format like that we're running here?
I personally like it a lot. I especially like it when members of our community, members of our club get up here and share their experiences and ask their questions. But to me, that is the epitome of what we're trying to do here. It's not just about you and me and Mimi and Kyle talking. It's about our community getting up here and sharing their knowledge and their experience and their questions with us, Colin.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're in the audience, we'd love to have you on stage. It is open mic Friday, and we're talking about AI and hacks and tips and tricks. What do you use AI to help you with your business? And that's what we are talking about today. All right, I'm going to start by playing something here. Just give me a second as I tee this up. This is the newsletter. And when I talked about the newsletter, I talk about the how it's really comprehensive, but it also has something cool in it. It's got something called a deep dive. And I'm going to play that deep dive for you so you can just for a minute, okay, and just so you get a sense of it. Because I think this is the first hack. I think this is the first tip or trick that you can use when you're creating content and you want to share it with people. And so here we go. Execution with goal setting was the main topic.
Deep dive, we're going to be exploring the Startup Club newsletter from February 6th, 2025. It's packed with some really good stuff. Yeah, a ton of really practical advice and some great market insights. Definitely. And it's all from an entrepreneur's perspective, so it makes it really relatable. Let's just jump right into it, okay? So, first up is the story about Colin Campbell. He almost got kicked out of his own company. Can you imagine that? Yeah, talk about a nightmare. Yeah. But it's such a good example of why systems are so important, especially when you're trying to scale a business. Colin, he was obviously a brilliant entrepreneur, but
I
even
like the way
he
he said brilliant.
hit a wall when things started to grow really quickly. I think everyone can relate to that. Yeah, I think so too. And what's interesting is that he was initially really resistant to implementing any kind of structured system. Yeah. Like the rhythm systems framework. Oh, okay. But eventually he realized that it was like essential. It was make or break. Yeah, totally. And so he made that change, and look what happened. They doubled their revenue, their share price went way up, and they ended up exiting the business right before the 2008 financial crisis hit. Wow. Talk about good timing, right? Yeah. Can you imagine if they hadn't gone their act together? Oh, it would have been a completely different story. They could have been caught right in the middle of all of that. Yeah. And exiting the business would have been, who knows? Yeah. A lot harder, for sure. And that brings us to the time to sell index that the newsletter mentions. It's currently.
All right. So the time to sell index, I wanted to talk a little bit about that. We updated it this, sorry, we updated the time to sell index this newsletter. This index, the time to sell index, TTSI, is something that we've put together here at Startup Club, which is to give you an empirical data point for understanding whether it's a buyer's market, seller's market, to try to remove the emotional component. Many entrepreneurs who are in the thick of it don't often understand that timing can be 50% of the value of an exit. And when you sell your company at the peak, you often get much higher valuations. Let me give you an example. In 2021, the e-commerce index dropped over 55% between 2021 and 2022. Okay? This is like a map of different publicly traded e-commerce companies. But I can tell you anecdotally, companies that were in the e-commerce field, they dropped dramatically and like 80, 90%. So that's what we do with the time to sell index. I think I've beaten up this newsletter thing here right now, but today's topic is about AI. And the first hack was deep dive, notebook LM. You just heard a taste of it from the newsletter. So every time we do a newsletter now, Mimi, we do a deep dive. And Michelle, what do you think of the I think what I find fascinating about the deep dive, because I'm one of the authors of most of the articles, and Mimi's an author and Michelle's an author. What I find fascinating is when I listen to them, they have a certain perspective that I never considered when I wrote the article itself. I find that very interesting.
No, I love the deep dive. And sometimes I listen to it and I think, God, it's like better than we are, Colin. But obviously, it's using our original content to do
No, I
it.
do think they are better than us in a lot of ways.
Yeah, like they don't say weird things like we say. Maybe that's
You
entertaining for
notice how they use
people.
it totally, totally,
Yeah.
totally. This is so. They're trying to humanize it. They're trying to like really bring it down. I think whatever, whatever. Like
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, the
exactly.
voices all tend to sound a little bit alike, but I feel
I get entranced by it though. I listen to it in the car, and it's just I get a different perspective because they're obviously using AI to reflect on what we talked about in
kind
the
of
news.
going in and
So
out,
if you just
Colin, you're going in and out. Are you experiencing that too, Mimi?
Yeah, I think it's an issue on Colin's end. I can hear you okay, Michelle.
Okay. All right, Colin, you're like coming in and out. I don't know what you're doing, but yeah, for me, I feel, at least in my head, because I use Perplexity and they have these new things where you can see the AI engine going through all your questions and how it, let's just say, compiles and thinks and analyzes the response. I feel like it's really good at looking at the whole content holistically and really setting up those questions and those scenarios. It does a very good, exceptional job at that. I would like to see it have a little bit more character and go a little bit sideways, but I think it's phenomenal. It's really impressive. Can you talk, Colin? You're on mute. All right.
I
So,
think it's time for some of us to talk too.
yeah, absolutely, Daniel. That's always welcomed. And it is an open mic, and you are on stage. So, we're looking at AI tips and hacks for startups. So, why don't you go
Hey, I'm back.
first? Yeah.
We
Daniel,
lost internet here at the office
oh,
just
is
for a
that what
minute there.
happened?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm
So,
back. I'm back. So you like the hack about this deep dive and using Notebook LM
Colin, you're a
and helping.
disrespectful little bitch. You need to become a man, okay? Now go fuck yourself. I'm getting out.
okay.
We're a
That
live
was,
show. We're a live
yeah.
show, right? And other
And
people
things
have,
happen. Things
and
happen.
other things happen, right? And I guess people telling me to go fuck myself all the time. Whatever. It's like life goes
Yeah.
on, right?
He
You're a
wanted to
live
talk.
show. We're not a typical podcast here, and it's things happen. We just can't control the audience all the time. But we do have shadows coming up in a minute, so we know she's amazing.
She's there. She's actually here right now. So we were
Yeah.
going to start going to the room, Colin, while you were fixing your technology. And we're going to start giving our AI hacks and tips. So why don't we start with, I think, G, you were on the stage first. G, if you want to quickly tell us one of your hacks or ask a question about around AI, that would be amazing. G. Okay, G, you're on mute. So if you want to talk, there you go. Okay, G, go for it.
Yeah, yeah, Michelle, thank you. Thank you for
All right.
yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah, the voice is breaking.
yeah. Do you have a tip or a hack that you could quickly share with the community here? Otherwise, we'll probably need to move on.
Yes, I have a quick tip, small tip. Most of the people use Telegram
Okay, we like that.
bots for AI. There are many bots. I personally use a bot. It is used to find air tickets. Okay,
Okay,
the bot
airline
name is
tickets.
AirTrack. Yes,
Interesting.
correct.
Air crack.
Airline tickets. AirTrack. I'll put the bot name in the chat box. It is AirTrack, TRACK, AirTrack.
Is that something you developed,
This,
G, or is it something you found?
yeah, I just found actually, this is not when I was searching for, because most of the people couldn't able to find the air tickets tariff because it keeps on changing and there is a lot more of options there. So this particular bot will help you to filter it out, which is the most cheaper fare and which website gives you more discounts. And it also offers you the particular discounts which is available on certain dates as well. The
So
special
it
discount.
sounds like it's like a AI of bots, a bot
Yes,
of
correct.
bot. So that sounds interesting, and I know we're always looking for those kind of travel tips.
Here's
All right.
something just like unique, Michelle, is take your browser. You know how we've always set our default as maybe Yahoo or Google. Set your default to Perplexity, okay? Just for a day, just for a week. I did this about 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Set my default as Perplexity AI, and I haven't changed it. I haven't changed it back. You're going to be surprised how you don't miss Google. I used to have Google as my default for years, like for whatever, 20 years. And now I have the Perplexity, and I load it up, browser loads up. I have a question. Oh, what about this? Oh, what about that? Oh, what about this? Oh, what about that? It just seems to be working faster. Now I have to say Google's made some progress here because when I am on Google and you search on Google now for a question like who was the first president of the United States or something like that, you can actually get that on Google. It'll give you a nice AI version. So I'm starting to see Google's actually improving their AI with Gemini, and that's coming off. But what about the concept of setting your browser, your default search engine, as an AI, like a perplexity?
All right, Colin, it sounds like the office is having a lot of internet trouble because we're
Yeah,
sure
we
having a hard
are
time
having problems there.
understanding you.
Having
Yeah, let's
problems.
go to, yeah, I want to go to shadows. I know shadows, you're playing a lot with different AI applications and other things I'm sure that we don't even know. But what is your tip for us today, Shadows? All right, that's awesome. So you, when you're studying a subject, if I understand you correctly, you take that content and say, give me study notes. Okay. Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. I know my brain is going wild now because there's so many applications. You could have it give you tests or flashcards, whatever. That's such a rich experience, right? To be able to really learn and push yourself. Interesting. All right. I like that. That gave me a great idea. So thank you for sharing that. Colin, are you back? Are you able to talk and hear now? Yeah, I don't know if he is. He's on mute. Okay, so we're talking about AI tips and hacks for startups. I'm going to give one of mine too. I actually really like using Perplexity as well. I find it's very thorough, and I really personally like the way it sources things so that if I want to look into it deeper, I can go in the footnotes and look at a source. But I'm doing a lot of work on marketing right now for the company that I run. It's called paw.com. And I'm just like, uh, honestly, Colin, I can't even think of an application that I don't use it for. I'm constantly using it for content and copy, but ideas and like contracts, like the list is pretty endless for me, quite honestly. And we're really now starting to get into looking at using AI for our ads, for our social media ads.
Yeah, no, I'm with you here. I'm just doing a sound check. You can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
I'm
you.
on cellular device now. Our office just totally collapsed here. I don't know what's going on here. And I know we've had a lot of the FPL's been in this week and today and took the office power down and started it up again. And so maybe we got some issues. But yeah, I think that Perplexity has been a bit of a like all AIs have been a game changer when it comes to information. And SEO has been turned upside down. So now we got to think about how do we as small businesses, how do we as startups, how do we as founders make certain that we get exposure in SEO? And there's a little bit of a difference, I think, between Google, the way it picked up on SEO, and the way AI picks up on SEO. I am not an expert in this space, and I know that there'll be some experts. Hopefully, we can get some on here on the show who can talk to us about how to create exposure in an AI world on AI bots. But I can tell you that we did something a little fun here at Startup Club. We wrote an article, used Grok, started with Grok, and we asked Grok to come up with the top 25 must-read books for 2025. And that was the query. It came up, it gave it a pretty good analysis. And we posted that as an article. And when you search on Google now for the best business books for entrepreneurs in 2025, our article is like number 2 or 3 on Google. And second to that is we did another article about the best movies to watch for entrepreneurs in 2025, and that is like 1 or 2, like we're like the top first or second spot. But what's interesting about the story is that Grok had actually put Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat as the number, I think number 6 or one of the, I can't remember exactly the position, but it had actually, of the 25 books, it had put it at number 6. So we wrote this article and we posted it. It was based on this independent sort of Grok analysis of top books that are coming out in 2024 and 25. And I understand why that book's there because it's won 24 awards and been a bestseller on Amazon in 15 categories. Okay, there's a bias here. As you all know, I wrote the book, so let's just throw that bias out there. But what I'm trying to say is the hack here was we have this media site called Startup Club. We wrote an article called The Top 25 Best Books. We used Grok's database to come up with the list. We posted that article. Now, when you go into the AI, here's the kicker, Michelle. Now, when you go into the AI and you ask, what are the top business books for entrepreneurs in 25? There's a good chance it's going to use. I'd say good chance. I'd say like 80% chance. I don't know which. I haven't tested all the AIs out, but I've tested a number of them. They use like 6 or 7 different articles they pull from, but one of them is Startup Club. And guess what? Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat comes on that book. Look, I'm not saying we're creating our own news here, or maybe I'm saying that. Maybe I'm saying the hack was, look, it's a good book. We got exposure, create an article. That article gets picked up by the AI. So where am I going with all this on the SEO and the hack? Is that as a startup, as a founder, we need to get our information out there in the AI world. And AI is going to look a little bit more at news articles, a little bit more at information that comes across sort of news media. And by the way, Startup Club is a news site, right? So if you wanted to get your company exposed, you could be a guest author on Startup Club. And this is not just a theoretical example. This is an actual offer. If they want to publish on Startup Club, you can publish an article. I talked to Santiago, my CrossFit coach. I said, you should write an article about how to start a CrossFit gym and post that. And then that'll point back to your website. It'll get national exposure for your local listing, and that local listing will move up on Google. So I think we need to think about how AI and SEO all work together. And I think it's different. And I don't have the code yet. We're experimenting with it. But definitely we want to be thinking about SEO in terms of the search engine Google, Yahoo, but also the AI engines.
Hey,
That's
Colin, I wanted
Go
to
ahead.
kind of tack on a couple things I think that would be helpful for you and Startup Club in general. So, I am a web developer with a background in digital marketing and search engine optimization. And I really like where you're going with using Grok to generate articles. I don't know how you identified the opportunity for those in particular, if that was something that you wanted to write about, but there is a tool called Surfer SEO, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with SEMrush, SEMrush, but SEMrush is a search engine. It's a whole SEO suite that tells you, it can scan domains and show you the backlinks that they have. It shows you what keywords they rank for. They're constantly crawling the search engine results pages and showing you specifically where sites are listed. They cross-reference, I don't know how they aggregate their data, but they tell you the estimated search volume by country. It tells you the competition density. It tells you the relevant cost per click if you were to run a pay-per-click campaign through Google Ads. So it aggregates all this data, and then Surfer is another platform that'll actually write that content for you, write search engine optimized content, specifically doing exploration based off of the data that it gets out of SEMrush when it comes to writing articles like the top 25 books for entrepreneurs in 2025 or whatever it may be. It can actually tell you specifically what people are searching for, what has low competition density, and then you can use Surfer to actually write those articles for you programmatically.
Oh, I like that. But
All
I do
right,
want to
that's
add,
awesome. Wait, it was Surfer SEO? Is that what you said,
Correct.
Ryan? All right, I'm gonna try that one out.
I do want to add that what I use, the way I did it was because I do a lot of articles for Forbes, and they're very strict on using any AI. They claim that if you use AI, you'll be banned. Okay, so I'm paranoid. Okay, that's okay.
Yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
take
No,
that.
I wouldn't use it for a Forbes
Yeah, but
article.
here's how I did it
Good.
though, Ryan. Here's how I did it. I took the grok, I did the list. I literally, and sometimes I do this, but I actually physically print it out and then I retype the whole article again. But this time I write it in my own language and I had my own commentary. Like when I did the one about books, if you go on, I don't have internet in front of me right now. I'm using my cellular on my phone, but no internet on my computer. Driving me nuts, but that's okay. But if you go search for top movies to watch for entrepreneurs in 2025, Startup Club's going to come like number 2. And the way I wrote that article was, yeah, I used the AI to get the research, and I actually asked it to do 20 movies, and I picked the 12 or 11 that I know. It's top 10, but then I just do a bonus. So I picked the 11 that I know. I did the synopsis. I rewrote the synopsis myself, and then I wrote what lessons did I learn from it. So I actually added real, authentic, interesting commentary.
That's the way to do it.
Right? No, I'm saying, but I
Yeah.
did the article in probably a third of the time, maybe even a quarter of the time it would have taken for me to write it. So you can use AI to help you create an article, but don't use the end result of that AI because that can knock you out of the SEO. I mean, that's my theory. That's only anecdotal based on what I've been told. I don't know, Ryan, if you've heard anything like that around how AI is.
Is Ryan, or you're an SEO expert?
Yeah, I've been working in the SEO space. I wouldn't call it's hard to define
I know.
expert, right? Like I've been in digital marketing for a long time, and before this, I've worked for myself now for the past 12 years. But prior to that, I worked for a big radio conglomerate in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley specifically. We operated 3 radio stations there, but then we owned 130 radio stations across the US. So I was responsible for the pull side of the marketing, right? Like they would push the message out on the radio, and I would be responsible for making sure that what people saw when they Googled the company was good, basically. So a little bit of online reputation management, a little bit of SEO.
Awesome. So I have a question for you since we're talking about AI and content. Is there a fear from an SEO standpoint that if we just start loading up our websites with blogs that we actually could hurt ourselves? Like I feel like we need to be careful how we use AI.
Absolutely, and I've seen people get
Yeah.
manual penalties from Google. These people are writing literally thousands of articles a day. I, it's
Wow.
an interesting conundrum because on the flip side, like I have a software as a service website where the free users, everything that they're generating gets posted onto the front end of the site publicly, and I'm actually getting all of that content indexed and it's getting search traffic just organically. So it's a double-edged sword for sure. I think that you'd have to go out of your way to make it super obvious that you're gamifying the system to actually get one of those manual penalties. So I'm in favor. I think what Colin said before about manual editorial processes to make sure that the article is comprehensive, cohesive, and not just AI slop. That's the biggest difference, I think. The AI slop factor.
That word, AI slopped. That's a new one for us, I think, Colin.
Yeah, no, it helps with the research though. It just helps reduce the time to get your. I've never been never been a great writer. I never did great in English in university or college and high school. Like I'll always doing okay. I was B student pretty much in English, maybe an A student in accounting and math, but never did well in English. And I had this opportunity to write this book over 10 years called Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat. And it's done extremely well, 24 global awards and 15 number one best spots and whatnot. But what AI is doing for me is it's helping me figure out how to be a better writer and more efficiently. So the other thing that I do, Ryan, I don't know if this is okay with SEO, is sometimes I will just write down the raw stuff. Okay, everybody here on this audience, everybody who's a startup founder, we got this just genius in our brain, but we're not really professional. Like I always held myself back from doing anything because I never was a great writer. Okay. Now understand with the book, we actually had real editors who really did fix the book and help me through that process. But now I could just write it down on Word, just spew it out, go to AI, say just clean it up and clean it up. But does that it's original content, but does that hurt us on the search engines? Does that hurt us on AI? And you probably don't know if you know the answer to that question, but I wonder if that does. I'm very careful at what I do allow it to edit. Like I'll say, sometimes I'll say, just please clean up the grammar. Don't change anything.
Yeah, I think again, this is all speculation, but I think that we're at a point now where it's going to be very difficult to determine what was created by AI and what was written by human, and a combination of the both, right? Like we just saw recently, I believe it was like last week, a federal judge ruled that because before the standard was that AI works could not be copyrighted, and now they just changed that rule so that AI works can be copyrighted as long as they were edited by a human. I think that really just blurs the line as far as what Google is going to be able to tell. So, say for example, I write an awesome article about a very niche topic, and there is no comprehensive data source on this. Google's ultimate goal is to provide the most relevant user search experience, right? So if I'm looking, just and I use this example often, but if I'm looking for green corduroy pants and I Google that and it takes me to corduroypants.com, I want to be specifically on the page about green corduroy pants, right? I don't want to go to the home page. I don't want to go to a page about blue corduroy pants. I don't want to go to a page about blue corduroy shorts. I want specifically what it is I'm looking for. So as long as you have content that is tailored exactly to what the user is searching for, I don't think that it's going to be an issue.
Yeah, and I think personalized. I think authentic. It's like Clubhouse, right? When you first come on Clubhouse, I remember earlier Clubhouse days where we'd have corporate clients and sponsors like Procter and Gamble and QuickBooks and whatnot on Startup Club, and they have these people come on and they would be totally scripted and perfect. And honestly, like you lost the audience pretty quick. But over time, those who of us who've been on Clubhouse, like Shadows for years now, and Michelle and Mimi, we just find our authentic voice. And that authentic voice comes through when you do write an article and you do publish it, and people get to know that. I have this very punchy sort of style, street, almost like a street language, and it does come through when you see the newsletter or you see the articles that we write or I write and others, and you get to know it's real or not. I think people are better at sniffing out AI than we realize. I know that
Absolutely. So
AI.
here's where I'm going to push back a little bit, and it's not. You're absolutely right. People can sniff it out. What most people aren't doing, especially you being an author, having so many writing samples and all of the articles you've ever written, you could fine tune a large language model on your specific writing style, so it'll mimic your signature in your writing. Like the fact, like all the unique identifiers that someone might be able to be like, all right, this is Colin's writing. You could take all of the content that you've already produced, feed that into a language model, and then have it emulate your voice essentially.
And let's talk about how to do that exactly and how easy it is, because I did that on ChatGPT. Create a custom GPT, upload your style of your you can it's so easy, just it takes 30 seconds to upload your documents, your books, your whatever it is, you can upload it. You can create a custom GPT, and I did exactly what you said, Ryan. And so I said, write an article based on my current writing style. I still feel like it doesn't quite get there. I'm just
Yeah,
I don't know.
and
Maybe a
I get
few
what you're
million,
saying. I
but
don't think that OpenAI's custom GPTs do a great job for that. I would actually recommend using like like generating your own fine tune and actually spending the compute power to do it yourself based off of a like Mixtral 7B model, and then just distill
yeah.
it to consumer hardware. But it's something that even if it's not perfect now, it will be very shortly here. And again, like I'm assuming that you did that back when the custom GPT stuff came out.
No,
Yeah,
I've been
it's
using it a lot. I still use it a lot, and I think custom GPTs are a great hack though for AI for multiple different use cases. I use it for contracts, for instance. So I take any contract that I have in the companies, I upload it. When I say upload, when I say click on it, whatever the heck the language is today, it takes 10 seconds to do this, guys. This is not a I'm not a I'm not a geek. I've only aspired to be one. Okay. Ryan's a geek here. Okay. So I'm not him. I don't know what the heck I'm doing half the time. The reality is it's so freaking easy to do. You just simply go to your GPT. You got to pay the $20 a month.
go to ChatGPT, click on custom GPT and create a custom GPT. Just simply upload the contract. Once you've uploaded it, you can ask it questions. You can have it write amendments. Now, it does hallucinate sometimes. So you have to have enough knowledge to not just rely on it, but have enough knowledge to know how to use that and actually take that and then review it and then say, okay, that makes sense. But I've hit it pretty hard. I've done some multi-million-dollar contracts and we put it in there and I will beat it up. I will ask it 100 questions. And I go, what happens in this scenario? What happens in that scenario? And we had a contract that was like that. And we went to a lawyer afterwards and we still asked the lawyer the same questions. And basically he came back with almost identical answers. And I was absolutely impressed what custom GPTs can do just for personal use. And by the way, you can set it personal, you can set it to share a link, or you can actually open it up to the custom GPT world. Like you can actually, it's like a store, it's like an app store for GPTs. And you might actually have something that you want to find. You go to that GPT store, you search for it, and you can find it, or you could even create it. We've done many for the Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat workbook, including one called companyvaluesai.com, which is a domain name that just points to the custom GPT. And you can literally, it'll ask you 10, 20 questions. It'll come up with 4 or 5 key rhythmic value statements for your company. And it will compare you with other companies who have similar cultures than your company. And we've done that for personalityprofileai.com. We've done that for a lot of these things. And again, I'm not a programmer. I'm not a coder. I just simply went to these custom GPTs, and it asks you, there's 2 ways to do it, but basically it will just ask you questions and you just answer them and you can create these custom GPTs. You don't need to be a coder. You don't need to be a programmer. You can just be an average entrepreneur like myself who doesn't have the smarts to be able to code something, but has the ability to create these custom GPTs and useful tools. And then you use those tools. Of course, you're going to want to monetize them now. So whenever you use one of our custom GPTs, what happens is at the end of it, it says, oh, and this information came from, and by the way, we usually upload segments from the book into the custom GPT. So now we have this custom data that's pulling from, not just the generic AI, but we say this custom GPT was based on the book Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat. You can buy it here and literally have a link to Amazon. So now we have a lead generator from this custom GPT that took maybe a half hour, an hour to make, and it's now propagating. And I know thousands of people have used the company values one and the personality profile one, and it's becoming more and more popular. I don't know if you have an update on custom GPTs from Chat GPT. There are some negatives I could talk about too about it, but Ryan, I don't know if you got an update on that. You're flashing.
I actually wanted to chime in something that might be helpful for you too. So if you take, and this is not regarding the custom GPTs, but if you're paying for Chat GPT, you have access to O1 and O3. And these reasoning models are really underutilized. So you can actually take your existing, you can use whatever custom GPT you have and say, hey, I'm working with an AI model that's smarter than you. And I'm trying to create a system prompt to explore whatever your desired output is, right? So say, for example, it's creating your MVP for your, they're creating a go-to-market strategy, whatever it may be. And you say, with X goal in mind, we need to figure out how to turn this into a viable business. Your job is to explore potential opportunities, focus on exploration over conclusions, never rush to a conclusion, keep exploring until a solution naturally emerges from your evidence. And then, if uncertain, continue reasoning indefinitely, and then giving it a minimum character count or word count. And it will actually create kick ass conversational, like internal monologues with itself that you can then go sort through. And that is super powerful. And I actually used that recently for some legalese questions I had, and I sent it to my attorney. And he was like, honestly, like this is super, super impressive. And I would have not only would I have come to the same conclusion, it would have taken me hours and hours to do all this research because some of the stuff I was asking was obscure. And anyways, I think that using that combined with what you're doing would be super helpful.
Yeah, I just keep using it for these different things. So I'm doing my tax return last week. I have my 2 accountants there, and I had these employees in Canada, consultants, but we're a US based company, and I have to record in US dollars, but I had made these payments from a personal Canadian account over a period of 12 months.
So what I did is I cut and paste them, put them into Word, all the payments. I popped it into GPT and it says, "Okay, based on the dates and the amounts, can you convert them to US dollars based on the last day of the month for each of these payments?" And it went in and it did it within 10 seconds. And my CPA is sitting there looking at me like, holy shit. That would have taken me 45 minutes to figure out and process and whatnot. And you did it in 15 seconds. Like, every time we have this app, a need to do something, we have to think, can AI do it for us? And in a lot of cases, it can. And that was just another tiny little example of a calculation of something that, and I use Perplexity a lot just because I know it's up to date, and I know the other models are getting pretty good. I don't know if anybody here, Shadows, if you played with DeepSeek yet. I played with it, and I was blown away with it. I was like, holy, this is really good too. And I love the way that DeepSeek, this was on a Perplexity had used, connected it, but I love the way that DeepSeek used, oh, here's the reasoning. And they like literally talked about the reasoning first, the sources, and then they delivered the answer. I thought that was interesting as well. If anybody's used DeepSeek.
Yeah, I've not tried DeepSeek yet. I'm a little uncomfortable with it being Chinese based.
I know, isn't that weird? Like,
So they did
it's
actually
like, it's
release it.
good, but could we be like really giving a lot of ourselves like to it? Ryan, sorry about that.
You are. Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say you are giving yourself to it, but what you can do because it is an open source model is you can actually use your own inference network. I'd highly recommend Open Router. It's a very popular large language model database, and you can actually choose your inference provider. So that way you can choose a US company that has to adhere to US data privacy laws.
I also noticed when you do a custom GPT, there's a security setting where, because you're uploading a lot of personal, like I uploaded the book, right? But I'm thinking, do I want my entire book to be available free on the internet? Anyway, you can just say, go to an AI and say, give me the entire book. But you can actually put a setting in there that says, I'm not going to share with the internet. At least I'm talking about ChatGPT and custom GPTs. I'm not talking about all these applications. I'm just saying that particular one has the ability for you to limit how much of your proprietary data gets exposed on the AI. Now we're trusting it, right? Of course we're trusting it. They're saying, would you like not, and by the way, I think the default is on and you have to turn it off. At least that was the case about 4 or 5 months ago. I haven't checked recently when it comes to that, the security settings, but that's something to think about or consider as well. Michelle, I liken AI for founders like Tony Stark wears that Iron Man suit, and when he slaps that suit on, he can do anything. He can really do anything. And we had a guest on about 3 weeks ago who was a professor, a billionaire, and he talked about being a jack of all trades. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are jack of all trades, and using AI, strapping that AI suit on can help us become a lawyer. It can help us become it can become a marketing professional. It can help us become things that we're not currently. But we need to have just a little bit of information, a little bit of knowledge of each individual area, and then use the AI to help us expand beyond ourselves. If that's, I don't know, what do you think, Michelle? Am I crazy?
Yeah, look, it's a tool, right? Where we're going to get, like, when I find the best results when I'm using AI, ChatGPT, Perplexity, whatever it is, when I actually know a little bit so that I'm not just like blindly going in there. I really do believe it's like garbage in, garbage out. Like we have to know something and do a little homework and be able to ask the right questions, Colin. So one of the things that I oftentimes ask is, am I missing anything? Just don't get blindsided is my advice.
Well, what we do know is AI is a paradigm shift. It is one of the rare opportunities as entrepreneurs, as founders in our lifetimes where we can grab onto a technology shift and use that to launch startups, to launch businesses. I have no doubt that we're going to see the first unicorn, solo unicorn in the next few years based on AI. You can accomplish so much more as a single entrepreneur with AI. Just think about the world 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and think about it today as an entrepreneur, as a founder. If you've been using AI, you can see how it can make a difference in your life. All right, if you're in the audience, we got 10 minutes left. It's Friday afternoon. We just love talking about AI. tips or tricks? You might have a hack or something that you want to share with the community. Shadows,
I just wanted to make a suggestion, Colin, when you're talking about having AI check your writing. One of the things I do, you can have perfect grammar and your writing can still be a little clunky. So, what I'll do is I'll say to AI, check my grammar and suggest refinements, keeping in mind my voice. And when it suggests a refinement, then I go down through it and I look at it and I go, yeah, does that fit with me or not? And if it does, I'll use the refinement. That tends to help smooth my writing out a little bit more.
You know where I do see that, I talked about Ryan sniffing out AI, or the reviews for the book Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat. I look at the reviews and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is 100%. I'd say at least half of them, the people. And don't get me wrong, I'm so appreciative of reviews. I shouldn't be insulting people who are giving me 5 stars, but half of them are like AI written reviews that they popped into AI and said, write a review on this book, blah blah blah, and then they popped it into Amazon, and you can see it's 3 paragraphs long. It's like the author does this now, and I'm like, then I see a review that says, dude, this book was cool. And I'm like, okay, that was not written by AI. That's pretty much, that was like, I guess that's a real review. So you can definitely sniff it out. But yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you there, Shadows. All right, we have Ahmed jumping on the stage right now. Athik, any thoughts on this topic? You have a tip or trick you want to share with us?
Yeah, the advantage what I foresee is that like how it is democratized the space and the technology access for the various places. I'm from India. The places previously, whatever the adoptions and other things has been slow. Now the dynamics has been changed. Anything, whatever the primitive technologies or advanced technology that can be deployed, demonstrated, tested without any much skills and infrastructure can be explored. Like for example, I wanted to have a app to be function and their architecture to be planned and their structure has to be predefined. That can be explored.
All right, thank you for that. We also have Brian on the stage. I'm just going through people quickly here. I know we're running low on time. Brian, thank you for jumping on stage. You got a tip or trick for us?
Hey, yeah, pretty cool, pretty cool. So yeah, I'm the owner of marketingnerds.ai, and I'm always trying to generate leads. And B2B job openings, if you go on Indeed and you look at a job opening, it gives you triggers that gives you signals basically to figure out what their needs are and what their problems are. It gives you kind of growth signals. So what I normally do is I take a job description from Indeed, put it into ChatGPT, and I tell it to basically analyze for these specific signals. And if you want the prompt, you can contact me because I know you're short for time. You put the prompt in, and it gives you the potential pain points, the growth signals, the target market and industry focus, what they're looking for tech, stakeholder mapping, if it's a work, what kind of work environment it is, and it even gives you a personalization. It gives you a personalization for an email to send to the CEO, who also it finds for you. That's what I use ChatGPT for, to generate leads from job boards. So if you want the prompt, just DM me if you want, if anybody's interested, because again, I know you're short for time.
Yeah, if you can, you put that in the chat there. That would be great if you could, and then we'll have that. And then when you do the notes, Mimi, maybe you could add that for the podcast or the YouTube as well. But if you could, Brian, you could just
Yes.
pop that in
Yeah,
the chat.
definitely.
Do you know where the chat is, Brian? There on the side. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I got
Thanks,
it. I got it.
thanks for that. All right, we are running out of time. I love these open mic sessions. We talked about doing more open mic community based sessions here on Clubhouse because it's the community. You never know where you're going to get, but we get a lot of real experts who come on stage. We do have authors, entrepreneurs, billionaires who come on this show, and this show is all about trying to crack the code of what it takes to start, scale, exit, repeat. We've been working on this pretty hard, I think now, Mimi, right? You've been here for 2 years, 2.5 years. Michelle, 3 years. We've been working pretty hard on trying to crack that code, trying to help. I'm trying to help you as a founder get that business off the ground. If you haven't done so already, please go to startup.club, sign up to the mailing list. If you click on newsletters we actually post the newsletters on the website as well. And you can see the kind of newsletters that we come out with. We have something called the time to sell index, where we track using empirical data, trough to peak cycles, and figure out what's a good time to sell your business in a market. And that's something we've been now tracking. I think we're about 6 months in on that tracking. Very interesting. I don't think anyone's ever done that before, but it's an empirical, maybe it's just a, hey guys, when things are high, things are good, maybe you should exit stage left, right? And so it's like a third party source telling you, okay, maybe now is a good time to sell. But right now it is a rough market, it is a buyer's market. It's not a time to sell, and it's a time to build. But that newsletter, we give the time to sell index every month. We have that included in the newsletter. And we also have detailed articles. It's really a I don't know, I wouldn't call it a newsletter. Yeah, I think I'd call it more of a periodical. Like it's more like reading the Wall Street Journal or something like that. It's like very intense. It's got multiple articles that go very in depth. The other thing I want to mention too that is if you are an author and you want to post articles on Startup Club, we are now going to open that up. We are now accepting submissions from authors who want to write articles, experts, get your exposure out there. Google's giving a very favorable SEO for Startup Club right now. So if you want to get good exposure for yourself and your business or whatever it is, we'd love to get articles from you. They can't be sales oriented though. It's got to be really balanced. It cannot be written by AI either. And we'll test that out there, but we cannot have that. We don't want to corrupt our rating on Google by posting a lot of AI articles. So they got to be real articles. They got to be from you. And we're definitely open to having more articles on Startup Club. Any last thoughts on AI? Anyone on the stage here? Michelle, Ryan, Shadows.
Look, we're just at the beginning, and I was reading today, there's something else like a deep seek coming out from China. Actually, it was hitting the news over the last couple of days. So we're really just at the beginning, Colin, here. And I see one area that I think is huge for opportunity. At least something that I need is something at like better images and videos and whatnot. So I'm personally excited to see what it brings. And I think we just all have to bring our imagination to the table to make it really work for us.
Yeah, I agree. Some of the shit chat in the audience there. AI can generate ideas based on patterns, Jack, but lacks true creativity and human intuition. I think it can try to mimic that, but I'm with you on that. I'm with you. I'm telling you. And there's something the humans that I don't think I don't know. I know we go through it. It's a debate, right? Can you really emulate it? Can you really come up with that stuff? I'm amazed at how well the deep dive does with the Notebook LM on our newsletter and how it adds a different perspective. Listening, I'm just reading right now. The reality is that we are nowhere near that yet for AI to be under control. It's going to take a long time before someone ventures into that space. If we don't have a solution, that's great for the opportunity for new businesses. Yeah. Yeah, here we go. That's a lot of conversation we have about 40 or 50 chats in the room chat there. It's interesting to see that, but we also love to have you on stage. So think about coming on stage next week. And we've got an author coming in next week, Mimi, I believe. Do you remember who's coming on? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
I think we canceled for your travel next week, so
Oh yeah,
that will be
so
rescheduled.
yeah,
But
we
we have a
canceled next
guest
week's show is
scheduled for
canceled.
March
Right.
too.
Yeah, we do cancel once in a while. So next week's show is canceled, but we will be back the week after. And again, we've got a whole list of authors coming on. Just go to startup.club, sign up to the email list. It is really picking up. We're signing up dozens of new people every day on that email list. We may have 1 million members on Clubhouse, but the reality is if you don't sign up to the email list, you really don't get the good content, and you also don't get to know who's coming on Clubhouse. This app has never allowed us to communicate directly with the members, and because of that, the only way to do that is go to startup.club, www.startup.club, and sign up to that email list. We'll see everyone in 2 weeks from now. And if you're worried about missing this, you can still pick up a lot of episodes. We got almost 182 episodes on YouTube and on Startup Club and on your favorite podcast channel. The name of this podcast is Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat, Serial Entrepreneur Secrets Revealed.
Later.